Sonic Frontiers came out back in November of 2022, and since then has been the topic of many a debate. Is the writing good? Is the level design good? Is the art direction good? Frontiers has become the highest selling 3D Sonic game of all time, selling over 4.5 million copies. You would think it must be the best 3D Sonic game of all time then, right? It's not bad. Listen, personally, I'm a huge fan of the game and consider it to be one of my top 5 Sonic games at least. But even I know it has a multitude of problems and did not reach the full potential it had. So with all the updates out and being 3 years closer to death, I thought we should look back at what Frontiers did right and what it did wrong. I don't have a cool transition for the intro. Chapter 1. One of the main things that Frontiers was advertising before release are these giant open areas for the player to run around in called open zones, where you're free to run around and explore to your heart's content. There are 5 different zones, but let's be honest, there's really only 4 zones. And if I were to describe the open zone areas in this game in one sentence, I would say run around, do random things all the time, and collect everything you see. These zones are filled to the brim with random things to do. There are boss fights, platforming sections, enemies, and even puzzles scattered all around for you to do, with all of them giving you rewards that help you progress in the game. The main thing you'll be doing though is the platforming sections. And when I say sections, I really mean like platforming bits, because most of the time these platforming sections are super short and don't really require much player input. You jump onto a rail, dash, and collect a collectible at the end. They're quick and don't require much of any thought. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy doing them. Maybe that speaks more about me than it does the game though. I don't know. It's really fun, dude. Those collectibles I mentioned, by the way, are mostly going to be memory tokens for you to give to characters in order to progress the story. These tokens are everywhere, and most story progression requires you to collect more and more of them, forcing you to explore. The best way to find them is just by running around and doing almost anything really, which, like I said, is pretty fun. Even though Sonic is pretty fucking glued to that ground, and some of the physics are kind of wonky, like how he doesn't carry momentum when you want to boost and jump, making some platforming sections harder than they need to be sometimes, he's still really fun to play as. The speeds Sonic can reach are insane at times, and it makes running around this huge open map feel like so much fun. I have so many times booted this game up just to run around and do some platforming over the years, I have to admit. Like I said earlier, there are puzzles as well, which every time I find one completely cancels out all the fun I had running around. Not because they're incredibly difficult or anything, other than that one puzzle on the first island that made me feel like I was having an actual aneurysm trying to solve it for no reason, but because they're puzzles in a Sonic game. I'm not one of those guys that thinks I need to go fast at every moment of a Sonic game. I don't mind slower sections or even having to build momentum in order to go fast. I'll say it, I don't really mind the Werehog sections if I'm being honest, but putting in full stop puzzles in a Sonic game is something I would never think of implementing. This goes against what I feel is like Sonic game design 101. Yes, you gotta go fast, but there should be consequences for going fast at all times and not paying attention to the level design. This will reward the player for memorizing the level with more speed and cooler set pieces. I never want to stop in a Sonic game and do a puzzle. It boggles my mind that they decided to do that. But whatever, you do a puzzle that requires you to go left in, right, left in, right, left in, right, sorry. And you unlock more of the map, which gives you icons of everything you need to know. One of those icons being bosses that spawn all around the map. They each have unique gimmicks. I can't say unique gimmicks. They each have unique gimmicks. Why? I'm gonna go crazy. They each have unique gimmicks. I'm gonna lose it. They each have unique gimmicks that start out very simple, but become more complicated in the later islands. I like fighting the bosses, honestly, and I think they're probably one of the best parts of the open zones. Except for the fact that every time they see you, they stop the game in order to look at you like you still owe them $20, making me avoid them in the open zones when I can. After you defeat them, they drop a gear that you can collect, which allows you to play in the cyberspace levels. What are cyberspace levels? I'm glad you asked, person who played the game already and has me on in the background. Wait, hold on, I forgot something. I know I mentioned fighting bosses and stuff, but let me explain a little bit more. There's actual combat in this game with a skill tree and everything. Honestly, there's not much to talk about here, but I felt like I should mention it. The skill tree is extremely easy to level up with the experience you gain from defeating enemies and doing tricks in the air that you can combo until you're bored, basically. There are also red and blue orbs that you can collect that can increase your power and defense. By a little bit past the halfway point of the game, I had fully maxed out my skill tree and had upgraded my damage enough to basically destroy anybody who came in my way. The combos you get are pretty easy to execute, but again, who would have guessed? It can be wonky to do at times. Also, there's a parry in this game, which sounds pretty cool until you realize that it can just be held down indefinitely, leaving you in the air until something hits you eventually. So yeah, I kind of messed up the transition, but just imagine it's still really good and funny, and I'm funny and I'm good at making videos. Okay, I don't know, subscribe, I guess. Like and subscribe. Cyberspace levels are the traditional Sonic stages we're all familiar with. And when I say familiar with, I really mean it. These are all just levels brought back from previous Sonic games. This right here, Metal Harbor. This, Green Hill from Sonic Generations. Oh, this fun level, Sonic Unleashed. Also, the levels are just worse than the originals. For example, in the Green Hill Zone level from Generations, you can speed through these enemies in order to defeat them and keep going through the level. But in Frontiers, you can't speed through them anymore since they'll damage you, making you have to homing attack them individually if you want to defeat them. Which doesn't even sound that bad until you realize that Sonic fully stops after every homing attack now, instead of moving forward naturally like he does in the other games. The physics are just straight up worse. Maybe it wouldn't be as noticeable if they made original levels with these physics in mind, and I wouldn't have to straight up compare them so easily. Which, valid, they did make some original levels, and those levels are fine, I guess. You know, it's not the most fun, but you know, it's okay. After completing these levels and the challenges within them, you can collect keys which allow you to unlock the gates containing the Chaos Emeralds, which is linked to story progression, and leads to the best part of the entire game. I mean, like, bro, this is amazing. Are these fights the most polished things in the world? No, nothing in this game is. Have you been paying attention? The fights can be extremely janky, and if you use your combo moves, the Titan's health bar depletes so fast. The Titans have like 5 moves that they can do, maybe, all of them being extremely avoidable by using the parry move and countering. Some of the Titans have gimmicks that you have to work with, which can be, again, a little bit janky, but with all that being said, this is awesome, dude. Sonic Team made a supersonic fight, hell, a boss fight in general, where you don't have to just run forward and homing attack the boss a few times. And that goes for all the bosses, by the way. I love actually having to do fucking anything other than just running a straight line and hitting them. But this is incredible. This is more than I ever expected. Supersonic feels fun to play as, and the punches and kicks feel so good to land. These fights make you feel so powerful. They really make you feel like Supersonic. And the music, I mean, you are hearing it. Listen to this shit. It's incredible. I still listen to this music daily ever since the release. You're telling me a supersonic fight has heavy metal music with lyrics screaming about how you can believe in yourself and fight for your friends, sung by Kellen Quinn? I didn't know who Kellen Quinn was until this game came out, and I feel like I was the only one who didn't know about him. Anyway, every Titan theme in this game is fantastic and deserves to be in the Hall of Fame of video game music alongside the Halo soundtrack and that one song from NES Pictionary. Pictionary sounds pretty badass. These fights are clearly the absolute highlights of this game. Most islands have a Titan fight, and each one is fun in its own right. They even have their own special finishers to end them, giving it all a cinematic feel. Honestly, any of these could be someone's favorite, and I would totally understand it. Except for the Wyvern one. That one you would have to convince me a little bit, to be honest. Alright, I don't know what else to say about these fights without dragging the video along, so let's just move on to the story. The story starts how every Sonic story starts for the last decade now. A prequel, a comic, or animation for some reason. Yes, you can completely enjoy Sonic Frontiers without reading the comic or even watching the animation, but without it, you'd be a little confused as to why you're even going to these islands and why Knuckles is there when he's not seen with the main cast before arriving, and they never explain it in-game, so this is the only place you can get that information. To make a short story shorter, in the prologue animation, which looks incredible by the way, I'll never get over it, Knuckles is hanging around Angel Island protecting the Master Emerald as he does while questioning who built the shrines to the emeralds in the first place and where they could have gone. He explores the island a bit until he finds a Chow in need of help. That's where he finds one of the gears that you use in game to enter the cyberspace levels. He places the gear into the cyberspace entrance, and before he knows it, he's transported to another location, clearly not Angel Island anymore, where he's ambushed by enemies. Knuckles defeats them all before coming face to face with an unknown character who traps him in a cyberspace cage in another location. Then we have the prequel comic, which is basically there to set up the entire premise of the actual game. Sonic and the gang are fighting off Eggman only to find out it's a decoy of the Doctor they've been fighting this whole time. Eggman made this decoy in order to get them off his back while he investigates the Starfall Islands, a location where all the Chaos Emeralds have suspiciously wound up and is known to be the former home to a race called the Ancients. That is where the actual game starts. I really don't like that Sonic games have been leaving out context for certain things from the story within animations and comics outside of the game itself. They started it in Forces with Infinite's backstory, did it here in Frontiers with admittedly smaller details that you can miss and not really mind, but then they did it again in Shadow Generations, explaining how Black Doom came back. I just wish that we could have had this stuff in the game as like a menu option or something and not have it be separated from the product I just bought. Regarding the story told in the game itself, I think it's pretty good, all things considered. It's definitely got its problems, like, for example, how much it likes to reference past games. It seems like they were trying to do callbacks at every chance they could, which, understandably, made and makes certain people upset. It's repetitive, it's uncalled for. Why would we reference this thing at this moment, other than appealing to nostalgia? Personally, though, I like hearing the callbacks, even if it can get annoying at times. I know it could be considered an overcorrection of the series, but I'd rather have an overcorrection than no correction at all in this aspect of the game. Just finally being able to hear anything regarding Sonic Unleashed from an official game makes me happy. Overall, Frontiers has a lot more moving parts in the story department since, I think, Sonic 06? Man, that game scared them so much they didn't want to make an actual good story for the next 20 years. We have Sonic exploring the Starfall Islands, every character having their own goals and worries, Sage trying to get Eggman out of cyberspace, Sonic dealing with his cyber corruption, and the entire storyline with the Ancients and the Chaos Emerald's origins, which is what the whole overarching story is about. Frontiers is all about the origins of the Chaos Emeralds and, weirdly enough, the Chow. Because the Ancients, these beings who come from another planet with the emeralds in hand and fought in a war against the embodiment of the literal end of all things? Yeah, they eventually turn into these cute little guys. Wild. Like I said, the Ancients were trying to fight against the embodiment of the end of all things, simply dubbed the End. The Ancients even have to leave their planet behind with the Chaos Emeralds in hand and watch their planet get destroyed from afar since they couldn't fight against the End's immense power. And even after finding a new home on Earth, or Mobius, whatever they call this planet, I don't know, they still must fight against the same enemy who destroyed their original home. In order to have a fighting chance this time, they created 4 mechs called Titans powered by the emeralds and used them to eventually trap the End in cyberspace. However, before they could trap the End, the Titans become corrupted and are now left to wander the islands in a constant state of unconscious anger. In my opinion, it's a pretty cool story with interesting lore and set pieces that make it fun to play through even on a replay. I never felt like we needed an explanation on where the Chaos Emeralds came from, but I really liked what Sonic Team was able to write here. In terms of writing, I think the Sonic franchise is at its best when it's tackling heavy themes while also shoving a fast blue hedgehog who spouts out simple and easy morals that anybody can follow, whether you're a child or an adult. It's fun, it's campy, it's cheesy, it's Sonic. The writing for the characters has also been a big point of contention within the fanbase. For a character like Tails, it seems like everybody likes where they are heading with him. He calls himself out for being inconsistent and always calling for Sonic to save him, even though he's been able to achieve things alone and even take down Eggman once or twice. Knuckles also seems to be taken well by the fanbase, with him seemingly wanting to not guard the Master Emerald as much and willing to leave it unattended for a bit so he can go race in Sonic Crossworlds. Amy and Sonic are the ones people have the most to say about, including my dumbass. Amy has changed a lot over the years, for better and for worse. Back in the day, her whole character was basically just being in love with and chasing Sonic. At the time, people really hated Amy. Like, actually fucking hated her guts. People dreaded seeing her in anything Sonic because her infatuation with the guy. Because of that hate, I think people forgot about the other aspects of her character. She was stubborn and caring and kind of reckless. Yeah, she can get annoying sometimes because of her overbearing love, but there was more to her that people could attach themselves to. However, nowadays, Amy has been written more and more like a sweet and caring person, which she always was, but they have dialed that part of her personality up to 11. And I honestly don't mind her growing into this kind of person. But where's the sauce, man? She used to yell and insult people. Now she's just some kind girl, which you can be, but just let her insult people again, bro. It was fun to see. It gave her a little bit more depth to her personality. And when it comes to Sonic, I mean, his character writing has been something people can't agree with for the longest time. He's too cocky, too caring, too blue, not blue enough. His quills are shorter now they're longer, now they're shorter again. His inconsistency is the most consistent thing about him. In Frontiers, they wrote him to be more on the caring and nice side. He still has his moments of cockiness, and they even give him and Knuckles some much needed rivalry again, with them bumping heads at times. But at the end of the day, he's always giving advice to every character he sees. I know people don't like how Sonic's been written nowadays because of his almost overwhelming need to do good and be a good person. Would I like to see him be more cocky at times? Of course, that's my favorite thing about Sonic. But in the context of this story and where the franchise was at the time, I think we needed this version of Sonic. Knuckles worries that he's not living life to the fullest because of his duty to the Master Emerald, and Sonic tells him to literally live a little. Go out and explore more than just his island. Amy says she wants to go out in the world for a while by herself and share her love with the world, which I can only assume means helping others in need, to which Sonic encourages her to follow that dream, even though that would mean she doesn't see him and the others for a while. And then we finally see Tails, where he confronts his own character assassination. Tails feels like a burden to Sonic for always calling out to him for help no matter how much time has passed. Sonic then comforts Tails by reminding him of his achievements that he was able to achieve on his own, and then saying that it's okay to ask for help even when you have done things alone before. It's part of growing up. Everybody needs help at times. And last but not least, we have Sage, who is the best new character that we have had in a long time. In the prequel comic, we see Eggman lament the fact that he creates robots who do nothing but fail him constantly, and that he wishes he can make one that would just actually make him feel proud for once. So I guess Metal Sonic is just a huge disappointment then. Like, what the fuck? He's like the one thing Eggman should be proud of. Sage, who Eggman created simply as an AI to help him navigate the islands, takes on a physical form and is constantly trying to help Eggman escape cyberspace. She gradually grows bit by bit in every cutscene, and throughout the game is constantly questioning herself and envying how Sonic is so close with everyone he meets. If you do the fishing minigame, which I know I didn't talk about and it doesn't really matter to the whole story, so we're not going to talk about it, you can get little Eggman memos where he details his thoughts on the current situation. He starts off only talking about cyberspace and the ancients and everything going on, but as more time passes, he begins to talk more and more about his personal life and how he never truly feels like he had a family. Seeing them both become closer and closer throughout the story is just really heartwarming, and seeing Sage get so excited at the idea of finally saving Eggman is just so fucking cute. Look at her, she's adorable, dude. Look at her. Sage is constantly referring to Eggman throughout the story as her father, and by the end of the game, you can tell that he really sees himself in that light as well. During Frontiers' life, we would see it receive various updates. We got things like a jukebox with songs that you can collect in the open zones and a photo mode. The third update is where we saw the biggest changes to this game. You see, I didn't mention the ending of the game yet because Update 3 actually changed not only the ending, but the last chunk of the game entirely. In the original ending to this game, before being killed off, the Ancients trapped the End in cyberspace for all of eternity until Sonic came along. Sonic would unknowingly free the End. However, Sonic at this point, after breaking everyone out of their prisons, making Sonic absorb more and more cyber corruption, and fighting off 3 Titans alone, he is at his breaking point. This leads to him finally falling into cyber corruption and everyone escaping, but having him stuck in their place. But with the power of friendship, I guess, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy go into cyberspace again in order to bring Sonic back and save the world. And with the help of Eggman and Sage, they can fight back this embodiment of evil in this epic final match. Is that Ikaruga? No, that's straight up Ikaruga. Why is that Ikaruga? This was such a disappointing way to end the game. After all these insanely fun and cool boss fights, you make the final fight Ikaruga? Ikaruga is fun, but there's a time and a place, and this is neither of them, man. Needless to say, fans were not happy, and the backlash was insane. It really made the ending fall flat on its face and left a lot of people with a bad taste in their mouth after that. So, for Update 3, Sonic Team revamped everything. Now when you reach the island and do a quick little 180, you'll see this giant glowing ring that you can jump through. Here, Sage determines that she can keep Sonic's corruption stable long enough for his friends to come out and actually help search for the Chaos Emeralds as well. This allows you to finally play as another character for the first time in a mainline title in years. There are also much more involved platforming sections with the characters, new skill trees for every character, and a new final boss. Which is awesome, right? It's not bad. I'm not going to go into too much detail about all this because, I mean, let's be honest, this video is probably long enough and I kind of want to move on with my life. But I also want to hit some of the major points regarding Update 3. The characters are really fun to play as. Amy has a triple jump where their last jump also allows her to glide, making her really fun to play. Knuckles has some good combat abilities, can glide as well, but can only climb on red walls even though he's known for climbing on everything. At the time the update came out though, Knuckles is extremely annoying to play as, at least when you're gliding. He used to have these crazy wide turns, making it extremely difficult to just fly around. And every time you did want to fly, he had to do this tiny animation every single time. It became extremely frustrating and made me not want to play as Knuckles anymore. Thankfully, they have patched both these issues out now, and now he has very tight turning and he doesn't have to do any stupid animation every time he wants to fly. I wish I could say the same about Tails. Tails' gameplay and platforming sections are just so frustrating to do. Every time he wants to fly, which is his main thing, by the way. I don't know if you know that. He's got 2 tails, he can use them to fly. He has to push one out and then fly into the air. It might not seem that annoying, but when you have to do it every 5 seconds, it gets really annoying. Why did they patch out the Knuckles glide animation, but not this? And even worse, Tails doesn't even have a homing attack. The thing that helps players platform in a Sonic game where you're constantly going faster than the speed of sound. Yeah, just take it away. No, that makes sense. This makes Tails' sections so frustrating. I am trying my damnedest to land on this fucking spring in the middle of nowhere and it just can't work for me. God damn it! You can play as Sonic too in this game. I don't know if you knew that. Sonic is unchanged except for the fact that you can now do a spin dash. Look at him go. But no, seriously, you can spin dash now and you can reach incredible heights doing this. It's actually insane at times. Look at how fast this is. I love it. It's awesome. There are also brand new cyberspace levels in this update. And hey, but listen, I'm just gonna be honest with you. I fucking hate them. I don't like them at all. I mean, some of them are kind of cool. They added new objectives inside of them. They're way more open, but I don't know. The physics just pissed me off. The pop-in is extremely bad in here. It's just not fun. I really don't like the missions you have to do. You have to collect things now. They're not fun. They're just not fun to do. Then there are the towers that you have to climb. These towers can be extremely challenging and punishing if you mess up. People have brought into question their quality as platforming challenges in general with all their linearity and questionable level design. But if you ask me, I think they're pretty fun. Is it really frustrating to get so close to the top only to fall all the way down to the bottom because of a stupid mistake with no checkpoints leading you to have to do it all over again? Yes. But I don't know, I find the challenge fun and welcome some difficulty in my Sonic game. But these trials that you have to complete once you finally reach the top of the tower are stupidly difficult. I guess Sonic Team saw just how easy the base game was and thought, hey, you know what, I know how to make these trials actually difficult. Let's take away every power the player has, make them level 1, and make them fight extremely fast enemies who hit you like a truck even when you're down. Oh, and put a stupidly small time limit on that as well. Oh, that's so smart. We're so smart. We're geniuses. I just don't understand why they did that. It stops all momentum the player had built up throughout the game just to piss you off. Granted, not all of them are actually that hard. One of them is extremely easy. You just gotta hold, parry, and beat these dogs. And the other one is actually a kind of fun challenge where it's one of the field bosses you fought before, but they're just a lot faster, hit harder, and that's it. It's not the most challenging thing, but it's fun. Once you finish all 4 trials, that's when you finally do the big one. The Supersonic Trial, where you have to beat all 3 Titan fights with only 400 rings. Meaning, you have a 400-second time limit until you lose. Doing these fights was and still is pretty difficult when you have this time limit on at all times that carries over to each fight. It's not impossible, but it can be stupidly hard sometimes. If you're having a lot of trouble, you can just change the difficulty to easy and get 600 rings and beat it with no problem. No one will blame you, trust me. After that actual hellscape, you finally reach the real final boss. And let me tell you, this boss is fucking cool. Yes, it's a little weird, just like all the other bosses in this game, and how it requires you to pull out this tube from its head with no hints to that being a thing whatsoever. But other than that, this might be my favorite boss fight in the series. Not only is it such a fun fight, but we also get a new super form dubbed by the community Supersonic 2, since it's just Supersonic again, but now he has a sort of red aura around him, and he put in blue context. I know it's not much, but when I saw the reveal trailer for this update and saw Supersonic with blue eyes, I got way more hyped than I think I should have. Supersonic 2 just oozes badass. There's like straight up no talking from Sonic in this form, and it's just pure anime fighting. I feel like a little kid in this fight, just having the time of my life. And the music, oh my God, it's the best song in the game. This song feels like it's the most concentrated form of Sonic music I have ever heard. Cheesy and over the top in the best ways possible. After a much better final boss fight, Sonic goes into a cannon and unleashes all of his cyber corruption. Eggman aims the cannon and fires Sonic straight through the end, killing them and saving the day. Sonic falls down from space where he's greeted by his friends, and Eggman is seen peacefully watching the horizon with his daughter close by. Sonic, Tails, Amy, and Knuckles get on the tornado and fly into the sunset, ending Sonic Frontiers. Frontiers has a lot of issues that I can pick apart all day, but like I said earlier, this video is probably long enough, and I feel like doing so would just be a disservice to the game itself. I'm a pretty positive person when it comes to games. I like to think that every game, no matter how rough it can be, can have some good in it and add value to someone's life. Take, for example, Metroid Other M, which I made a whole video about. You should go check that out. It's one of my favorite videos I made. I'm really proud of it. This game did so many things wrong and hindered the perception of the franchise. And after playing it for myself, I can say, totally true. Yep, no, this game's bad, dude. It's real bad. It did a lot wrong, but it did some good too. I had fun with it at times, and I can see why people enjoy it to this day. I feel the same way about Sonic Frontiers. The game is not perfect, but it feels like Sonic Team tried so hard to do right by the fans and make something that we have been asking for years. They gave us huge open areas for us to explore, bosses with actual strategies, music that can rival previous OSTs in the franchise, and a story that actually has some weight to it. And in this scenario, I feel like the good kinda outweighs the bad in a lot of ways. Listen, for this latest playthrough, I really tried to be critical and take notes on what I liked and disliked, leading me to be, I think, possibly overcritical. I feel like a lot of people do that as well regarding Frontiers. SA1 and 2 are perfect either, but we don't give them nearly as much flack as we do Frontiers. And we have seen Sonic Team make improvements to the formula already established in Frontiers with Shadow Generations with its open zone and linear level design. Shadow really felt great to play in that game. And other than the gameplay, the animations were better, the rendering was better, the voice direction was better. In my opinion, Frontiers is what we needed at the time. We got great character development for everyone, fun gameplay, and a story that I think is going to stand the test of time just like previous games. It set a great foundation for the series going forward while being a great game in its own right. I just love this game so much, flaws and all. Anyway, that's my conclusion. I hope you liked the video. It took me a lot longer than I expected to write, and I still have to edit it and make the whole thing. Oh my god! Like and subscribe if you enjoyed a nerd who likes to talk about games pretty often. Also, if you want to support the channel directly, check out the Patreon in the description below. I'd really appreciate that. Thank you guys so much for 1,400 subscribers. That means the world to me, and I hope to see you again soon.